Well, good morning, everyone. Um, this is actually my second Dharma talk in 2 weeks. I don't think I've ever done that before. That many in that short of amount of time. And I did a Dharma talk a couple Monday nights ago, and I think I realized that a lot of times I don't have any notes or anything, and I realize that my memory isn't as good as I think it is at times. So today I jotted down some notes just to help me out. So my first thought was that, a couple weeks ago, after one of our meditation practices, Bhante Rahula asked, do we have any questions? Which, monks usually always do. And, and I've thought this for a long time, but I told him after the practice that, Bhante, I have questions, but I don't think you can answer them. And, so I first came to the practice here, the Blue Lotus Temple, I asked a lot of questions, and I had a lot of doubts too, So, and Bhante suggested a question, but I guess I was. I was kind of confused, kind of like that mixture of, like trying to find meaning to all of this, and then actually just like a practical question. And I guess I really, it came, like I said, came probably out of a little confusion. But I always have had those, like those deep questions, but I know, no one can really answer them for me. But they're always kind of there, and I don't think I'm looking for a real answer from anybody, and I think I just have to kind of sit with them. So, when I thought of that, I get these feeds from poems, from Rumi mostly. And I saw this one morning, and I thought, wow, this is actually really good. It was kind of like just what I was thinking. And I don't know who wrote this, but anyways, here goes. It says, have patience with everything that remains unsolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves like locked rooms and like books written in a foreign tongue. Do not now look for the answers. They cannot now be given to you because you could not live them. It is a question of experiencing everything. At present, you need to live the question. Perhaps you will gradually, without even noticing it, find yourself experiencing the answer some distant day. And I thought, that's kind of cool. I mean, I didn't like the distant idea. I mean, it's kind of nice. You want these answers immediately, usually. So I thought, that's nice, but, I still have to live my life, and it's nice to always have those questions in my mind, kind of always in the back of my mind, and realizing there's not an answer, but just kind of there. So I realized in the meantime, living with everything isn't always so simple. But I know we talked about a few times in the last few meditations that I remember probably over the last month, and I think especially with Bhante Sujatha, we were talking about how the negative parts of ourselves that are the most powerful things to work with. And, this kind of like counterintuitive, I think, of how, probably all of us, but I mean myself, I've always kind of avoided that, a lot of the negative parts of my personality, or the negative thoughts and the negative feelings, and even like negative things that happen to me in my life every day. But, it was a revelation to me in a way, and it's not like I've never heard it before, like working with all your negative, because that's really the most powerful part of yourself that really has the most opportunity for you to wake up and see things more clearly. But, here again, like I said, it's not always easy. And I think if I look at myself, and I think if I look at my brain, I mean, like probably everyone else's, that it has like an agenda of its own. It's not like at times when you see it, it's not like maybe it doesn't want you to have those answers. I know this sounds funny to say it, talk like this, but maybe there's a comfortableness of living with, living the way we are and not going beyond some of the strong feelings that we have. But, I think there's always teachings and everything that always point to this point, that working with the negativity and the real basic parts of our personality, that real strong parts of our personality, is really so crucial in our if you want to say, your spiritual development. So I thought of one of them, and one of them was the lotus flower. So the lotus flower is, it's born in a pond. It lives in the pond, and it comes from the bottom of the muck. The roots and everything are in the muck, but it raises up itself out of the water, and where it reaches its really beauty is once it reaches up out of the water, and there it's where it transforms its beauty. But the thing is that it's always connected to that bottom muck and all of that. That's where it gets its energy. And without that, it wouldn't be able to survive, and it really wouldn't be able to show its true beauty. And there was one other thing that I came upon when I was reading about this, and I don't know too much about chakras. I've taken yoga for years, and there's always been talk of chakras. And I never realized this point of it, because I've heard it. I know there's the energy levels in the body, and there's like lower energy levels and going up. And the higher you start, like in the groin area, and I think there's 6 energy levels that are actually in the body. And as you rise up and you function more in a higher energy level, you live more in a higher consciousness and actually maybe a more awake lifestyle than you would at the lower of the energy levels. And here again, and this is the one thing I never thought about with chakras, no matter how up, according to this, and honestly I don't know too much about chakras, but according to this, what I was reading is that no matter how high up you go in those energy levels, you're still dependent on that real low energy level, where here again, you might look at it as your negative, your real having to deal with all your emotions and, seeking pleasure. And if you stay in that real low level, obviously you live a real primitive lifestyle where you just live with all your reactions and all that. But so I thought that was really interesting, because I think that we're always given that opportunity for the negativity in our life to really wake up. And I think the way we see that is through our mindfulness practice, our mindfulness meditation. And I think for me, I think my mindfulness meditation practice, I think it's been really powerful. I also see it as being really subtle. I think it takes a lot of work. I think, and it's slowly, the word slowly as holy comes in, because it really isn't something I think that comes naturally to us. And here again, I see myself, I want to say my brain, kind of resisting that, a lot of that. And and I think that's probably why it takes such a long time for some of us to really see this. And not to mention the fact that we really have to be able to just observe it. And that's it, a lot of observation, and maybe for a long period of time. And so I was reading this article, which was really, it fascinated me, just the title. And it said, "Mindfulness meditation often fails the scientific test." And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I want to read this and see what it says about why does it say that about the mindfulness practice. So it was actually like they had a lot of controlled groups, and some of the people were using mindfulness meditation, some of the people were using relaxation techniques, and some of the people were just using self-control. And this was basically a study for working with anxiety and depression and seeing how well the mindfulness meditation happens, how well it works compared to other things. And it was funny because I read the end of it and I thought, wow, that doesn't sound good. It says, well, the guy's conclusion was, well, mindfulness meditation is better than nothing. And I thought, wait a minute. It's, and I read it and I looked at it, and it also said to the fact that it could be detrimental to you if you have, like, say, a lot of anxiety or panic attacks and stuff. So, when I read it, I thought, well, that seems kind of a negative look at, the mindfulness meditation practice. But in reality, what it was actually not really a long-term approach to it, and it wasn't a long-term study. It was more of like, how do we deal with anxiety? How do we deal with depression? And in short-term groups, and seeing how it works. And, and I thought, wow, that sounds kind of like mindfulness meditation practice light, where, in other words, I think if I look at when I first came here, my approach was just that way. My approach was probably more of the fact that how do I get rid of this anxiety? How do I deal with my bad feelings that I don't like and all of that? But I realized that when you come with an agenda and you come looking for something to help you, mindfulness, I think, like I said, I think for myself, I could see it where it really does work well with your emotions. It really does help you with anxiety and depression. But I think if you're looking for your cure-all in a short-term fix, it just doesn't work. But in the long run, and it seems, I'm telling you, slowly sometimes really, it's like, wow, this is a lot of work. But I've been so fortunate, I think, to have this practice to help me through, a lot of things in my past. And now that I see it, I really, like I said, I think I see that it's just been like a remarkable part of my life. So that's what I wanted to say about the mindfulness practice. So I thought that I would throw in this one thing at the end here. And it touches on death. And what's a good talk without some death thrown in? But, I hesitated to say this. I really liked it. When I read this, I liked it. And I read it maybe 3 times. And I said, wow, that's interesting. But some of the words that's used in here, you'll see what I'm saying. Some of the words that are used, you're kind of like, you have a lot of connotations to them. So here we go. Let's just see what you think. When we die, we bitterly regret that we did not awaken the immortal divine consciousness of the soul, which we always are in essence, but instead used that incarnation to live spellbound by the trivial contents induced by the illusion of individual separation, by identification with the physical body, by which we suffered as a result. I really like that, but there's some words in there like soul, immortal, and everything right away that kind of like you're thinking, I don't know, And honestly, I can read things like this now, and words don't affect me so much like that. I can read things with that, but I think when, as being brought up as a Catholic, automatically when I see a word like soul, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what are they talking about? There's a lot of baggage to that word, or immortal, when he talks about that. But the key, I think, to this is that to see that we really do live kind of in a sleep state. And I've thought this for, a long time, when I think that when I reach the end of my life, that would be really, I think I really would regret if I didn't take this opportunity that I have with this practice and take it as far as it'll take me, I guess. And that's what I loved about this, because it also shows you that working with the negative parts of my personality actually gives you the opportunity to see things like this. So I think basically I touched on all the points I really wanted to touch on, and that's my talk for this morning. And I appreciate you all listening to me. Thank you.